tell the audience a lot about you, but from my perspective, you're just a rock star woman. You've been a journalist, you're now into crypto, you're kind of all over the place. So if someone were to say, who are you, what would you say?
Thank you so much, Stacey. You're incredible yourself, and it's such an honor and a pleasure to be part of this program with you. And I want to thank you for everything that you're doing. And I guess my journalistic career started out with an interest in really finding a path that would enable me to have a bigger platform, to access more people, to understand the world in a better way. And that in conjunction with the several languages that I speak, to understand the culture of every society a little better, it was always a way to combine that with the intersection of my interest in human rights as an advocate, and also politics and diplomacy. And of course, with one of the most important things that ties into all of that is money, assets. Yeah. And so it was always more of an evolution. And I'm so grateful and blessed that now I've been able to evolve all of those skill sets as a journalist, as a executive director of 2 NGOs, working in communications, to have all of that now combined into my role as a CEO of the American Blockchain PAC, where I can take from all of that and apply it to what's happening here in the US and in other capacities also internationally, specifically through cryptocurrencies.
All right, so let's just deal with the number one question. Why should people fall in love with crypto? And the reason why I ask this is very serious. A lot of times I see on Facebook and on other social media platforms, people just really going off about crypto. Like, it's a Ponzi scheme. I want nothing to do with it. And I want to dispel these myths around cryptocurrency because I think it's getting in the way of progress. And I feel like this is the one area where, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, we have a lot to learn and a lot to do to move forward and use these technologies in the way that they're supposed to be, instead of just going off about how bad they are before you even know what they are. So for me, the reason why I wanted to bring you on today was so that you could just walk through what these things are, why they're important, and why they're not going away, like it or not.
Thank you for that excellent question. It's definitely not going away. Many people have tried to say crypto is a Ponzi scheme. Of course, there are schemers out there. And I will say, though, Ponzi schemes really promise high returns at minimal risk, whereas crypto trading, if you look at it, is highly volatile, right? Due to market conditions, regulatory challenges, other factors. And I will give this isn't any kind of financial advice, but I will say for anyone looking to enter into crypto investing, unless you're doing it full time, I would not recommend actively buying and selling it. Hold on, look at the top 100 cryptos out there, and a great way to be able to determine which cryptos are good to invest in, frankly, and hold on to. They call it holding on for dear life, hold on with diamond hands, as I like to say, is to look at the top 100. You look at the market cap, frankly, and you are going to be able to, crypto's market cap is calculated taking the current value of the coin and then multiplying it by its current circulated supply or its volume. You're not looking at the dollar value, because the dollar, of course, has been deteriorating a lot, and it's no longer, I think, in the future, it's not going to be considered a reserve currency. I think some sort of cryptocurrency, whether it's one or several of them, a basket of them, are going to become more of the reserve currency. That's a whole different conversation, though. But I want to start with a little bit of history, right? Many investors in this space, they'll look at 2009 as really being the first ever cryptocurrency transaction for its Bitcoin, frankly, which was created in 2008 by a man named Satoshi Nakamoto, who is actually a Pakistani or a man of Pakistani origin. And 2009 was when Bitcoin was first released as an open source software, right? And what we're coming up on in a few days here is a day that's recognized as Bitcoin Pizza Day, May 22nd. It was in 2010 that the first ever a recorded transaction of Bitcoin was utilized by a man named Laszlo Hanyecz. I'm not pronouncing it properly. And he paid Jeremy Sturdivant 10,000 Bitcoins for 2 Papa John's pizzas.
Wow.
So today that's worth tens of billions of dollars. And it's stuff like that. The more people are educated, the more that they are informed about cryptocurrencies, what they actually do, the more it's going to become dispersed into everyday transactions out there in the economy and become more commonplace, right? And so, of course, cryptocurrencies, if you look at it, it's really it's a decentralized form of currency. It runs on a blockchain, and what people don't actually, there's a misconception here. The misconception is that cryptocurrency is anonymous. It's actually pseudonymous, which means that while your details are not publicly visible to everyone, your public key, which is a unique identifier, is. And what it means is that it's publicly and permanently baked into the blockchain once you make a transaction with it. And so it's a secure way of transacting, and it records every transaction, both the previous one and the subsequent ones. And the reason it's so secure and it's called trustless is because it doesn't require the same checking mechanisms that a third party does. Once there is a substantial change in the cryptography in the block that's being created, every subsequent transaction then is altered. And it's a notification that something is wrong in the system. And it's very secure in that regard.
You know, I love the way you're telling people what it is, and it seems very straightforward.
Thank you.
But I'm still wondering how to address the emotionality, the kind of deep-seated distrust of the technology, so much so that it literally is blinding people from seeing any utility at all. That's one. And then the second part is, you know what? I think there is a little bit of an issue with the messengers sometimes. There is kind of the bro culture. I know that's not necessarily always the best group of people to explain something, especially in other countries. You know, getting a person with a baseball cap on in a government meeting in El Salvador to meet, well, even though the president wears a baseball cap, is not the best way to approach making something seem real. So I'm not, and I have many friends who are those guys, and they're great guys. But I just think, you know, if you want to convince the public, I think we might need more people like you to really be out in the forefront talking about this with as much fervor and as much publicity as those guys. So
thank you. Absolutely. And you're right. It is just generally a more male-dominated space. And I do love seeing, and as frankly, it's historic. I'm the first female CEO of a PAC of its kind of cryptocurrency, so it's really an honor, truly is. And speaking of trust, you're absolutely right, Stacey. This is a time where people have generally lost trust in traditional institutions, right? Trust has all but been erased, and crypto really provides an opportunity to restore trust, as blockchain is a trustless system, right? As in, you don't need to place your sole trust in any one stranger, any one institution, like banks or third parties anymore, in order for the network or payment system to function. And it's interesting, it's like kind of counterintuitive, because you think that contrary to the term itself, you know, trustless, the blockchain actually is a protocol that manages the operation in a trustworthy way, as in it maintains the integrity. And so if we can kind of look at, I want to take Latin America, for example, right? So there's the idea that the unbanked, or if I'm skipping ahead, or should I continue with the trust?
Oh, sure. Going. Okay.
So it is the unbanked, right? The bypassing of traditional financial institutions, it's really, really intriguing for parts of the world that are largely, they haven't been welcome into our traditionalized centralized financial systems, right? You have in America, you have right here in the United States of America, an unprecedented number of, for example, Black Americans, Latin Americans, who have been investing more and have had access to cryptocurrency much more than they would have in traditional banking institutions, because there are certain factors that would either prevent them from being able to have the same access. They don't have enough cash liquidity, or there's certain documentation that's needed. And if we take a look at the population, for example, of Latin America and the Caribbean, I believe it's about, as of May of this year, 665 million people, which is equivalent to like 8.4% of the world's total population. In 2021, there were approximately 520 million mobile subscriptions in Latin America, right? And those are people who are operating with mobile phones. And so by 2027, that number is set to reach nearly 600 million, right? That's nearly almost everyone's going to have access to a smartphone. And all you need in order to invest in crypto is access to a smartphone and the internet and a digital wallet. And right, it means everyone in Latin America will be able to have access.
And I think there's more of a desire, at least anecdotally from the people I've spoken to, there's much more of the desire to adopt this way of buying and spending because of what you just said. Like, they don't have traditional access to banks that we are so used to. And also, like, if you look at Africa and other countries, like, they're already using like M-Pesa, they're already like used to this type of technology. So it's not really that far-fetched. But today is very important because a lot of people who may have said, yeah, that makes sense, and I do agree, are seeing what seems like the spiraling down, the death spiral of crypto. And so I've gotten a lot of questions. People have asked me to ask you, like, hey, what do we do now? What should we buy? Should we sell? And I know that this is not this conversation, but I think it really has made people kind of reevaluate. Those who are on the fence kind of wanting to be involved are now like really afraid. And those in it are saying, guys, we knew this was going to happen, and we knew it was going to happen this week. So, hodl, because this is a temporary thing. And I think it would be remiss for us not to bring that up and to talk about it.
Absolutely. And so again, if you're not an active investor in it, I would really, really highly suggest just holding on for dear life, hodling. And for those who are interested in getting involved, there is a little bit of a dip coming further, I believe. Again, this is not financial advice, but I would say that in the next few weeks that you will see an even greater depreciation in the value, for example, of a particular cryptocurrency, the most transactional one actually, Bitcoin, and that will be a very good opportunity for anyone who hasn't yet done so to start investing in it, because it's likely only going to increase from there. And I have no doubt that it will, over the course of the next few months and years, once it hits that really, really big low, that dip, so to speak, it will just skyrocket up. And it has the potential to make many people very happy and financially stable for, depending on how much they've invested in it, generations to come. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So a few other questions that people have asked me is,
oh, can I add something else, if I may?
Oh, yes.
And also, to add to that, there's a lot of behind the scenes actors who shall remain nameless. A lot of them we don't know who they are, who have been actively working also to kind of manipulate the markets in a way. And just don't lose faith. Bitcoin, cryptocurrency isn't going away. It is the future, and just stay strong.
And that's actually part of that was the question. It was, how do we know going forward that the market won't be manipulated again? And how volatile will crypto be? Is this something that's just going to be forever and we just have to get used to it? Or do you see at some point the actual widespread adoption, government regulation, and then the ability for every single person to buy, to sell, to do whatever they want with cryptocurrency?
I think that's part of the beauty of what, sorry, give me 1 second, I apologize.
That's okay.
I think that's part of the beauty of what cryptocurrency allows. What it does is it provides the potential for a new financial operating system with incentives, of course, that gives everyday people the same power as, let's say, a wealthy hedge fund manager on Wall Street. Billions of people will now have access. And what it does is those powers that be, let's say, who are able to manipulate it, now the power is with more people, it's more decentralized, it's more widespread, and this really and truly goes back to the idea of trust, right? So trust is the most important currency, right? It's key, it's essential, it's key for commerce, it's essential for smart digital societies, and frankly, cryptography through the blockchain and through crypto, it's restoring trust in societies throughout the world. And so I do think that there will be, of course, the work that I'm doing with the American Blockchain Practice as CEO, with our founder, Todd White, to help create a sound regulatory framework, for example. There will be mechanisms in place. Of course, regulation is inevitable, but having sound regulation, that's going to be critically important. And it will help prevent a lot more of these incidents from occurring in the future. Again, it's highly volatile right now, but there will be a little bit more stability in the coming months ahead, hopefully, and years. And I definitely do see that so many in the different various agencies here understand the potential for it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to add something else, if I may. I believe truly that cryptocurrency and the blockchain truly is the only thing that can save the U.S. economy.
Yeah, I think, it has bipartisan support. We've seen
Absolutely.
both the senators from Wyoming and then the other.
Senator Loomis. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I mean, just, on both sides of the aisle, they're like, look,
this is Rosanna. Absolutely.
But we need some regulation to protect consumers. And I think there are also people in the crypto community that are like, we don't want any regulation. We're not going to allow it. But that's just foolish. I mean, quite frankly, there has to be some amount of regulation. So I'm really pleased to see the conversations that I've heard so far about how to protect consumers. And I think we'll see more of that as we go on. I have one last question from someone who said, how is this going to be an important conversation in the lead up to the 2024 election? This is, again, I'm not asking for a political statement at all, but just, do you think that this is such an important issue that people are really going to be talking about it in the lead up to 2024?
Absolutely. If I may say, this is probably cryptocurrency will be the most important issue going into the midterm elections. And I want to point out something you said earlier, which is so amazingly accurate. Crypto is incredible because it also cuts across race, gender, creed, religion, all those different factors that cause so much division among people, right? It is bipartisan. It's like human rights, right? No matter who you are, Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, how could you not support something that's going to benefit the advancement of humankind and everyday people? And that's precisely what it does. It cuts across all the politics. And part of it is that, I will say, we've been fortunate enough to work with Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Libertarians. It doesn't matter to us what your political party is. As long as you're pro-crypto, as long as you're for advancing this ecosystem and for helping create a sound regulatory framework where everyone can benefit and that it's not going to drive the industry out or damage it, then you have our support. And that's why this 2022 midterm election cycle is so definitive and so critically important for the trajectory and the future of this ecosystem. And so we are personally not getting involved in the primary part of it because we're waiting to see how the results play out. But trust me, once that primary segment is over and we enter full-on midterms, then you can expect and anticipate for the American Blockchain Pact to be very heavily involved. And we've already identified several people who on both sides of the aisle, who are very supportive. And we look forward to vocalizing our support. And I will also add this. We would like to see both the Democrat and Republican parties, we would like to see both the Democratic and Republican parties really evolve, right? Evolution. If you're not evolving, you're dying. And if we do not see that both parties have evolved to a place where it's going to benefit this ecosystem, then we will be creating a third political party that is largely technocratic and will, with the sole purpose and vision of advancing the cryptocurrency, blockchain, Web3 ecosystem collectively, digital assets, all of it.
That's great. Thank you so much. We are so excited. This is just the beginning of this series. And as we move into other markets like Latin America and Africa, we're going to reach back out to you, Adele. We're going to have our next Fall in Love series in Spanish to talk about crypto, specifically about El Salvador, and then to go back and start a little bit over with NFTs and really getting into, like, it's not just about money, it's about the utility, because I think a lot of people would love to hear more about how blockchain can help with, like, identity. If you don't have one, you can, about data privacy and sharing your data and all of that stuff. So this is just the beginning of this conversation with you, and we hope that you'll come back. And yeah, thank you.
Daisy, I'm so honored to be part of it. You're incredible, and thank you. I would love to be back on, and I'm so looking forward to working with you to make really the world a better place for everyone living in it. So thank you.